Jared Poland, Fro Knows Photo.com, here with Jonathan Eng. How you doing, Jonathan?
Pretty good. Yourself?
Good. Jonathan put this photo up of this butterfly in a little girl's hand in the Flickr photo group, and for all of the for those of you who haven't gotten into that Flickr group, you should really put your pictures there, because that's where I select each week's Flickr photo of the week photo from. So, Jonathan, why don't you tell me a little bit about how you captured this image?
Well, I took it in the Natural History Museum in London at the Butterfly Explorers exhibit. It's a huge tent, and it's made of like a canvas, so it's a large soft box, which is really nice. I was just taking photos. A little girl picked up the butterfly, and I decided to just take the picture.
Go ahead.
I quickly adjusted the shutter speed and aperture because I usually shoot in manual. Mm-hmm. So when I tried to frame it, I was off to the girl's right, so I had the butterfly in her hand and also her arm and her dress, which was a low blue tint. So I quickly sidestepped, and I guess I wanted the contrast between like a dark green and her arm, which I really do like on the photo.
Sure. So this is shot raw?
Yes.
And it's not cropped?
No.
Exactly. So I like how you said you recomposed. You saw what was going on, and instead of trying to, go, I'll just fix it later, you just took a step to the side, and you were able to get the exact composition that you wanted. And the composition's great. The juxtaposition between the blown out area and the focus, even the hands out of focus, yet the butterfly is nice and sharp.
Yes.
And that's a good thing. So what camera are you shooting with?
I shoot with the Nikon D90, and this photo I used the Sigma 150mm 2.8 macro lens.
And you were manually focusing?
Yes, because I find that the Sigma 150 lens kind of focus hunts on the D90 a lot, so I knew that if I wanted this shot, I had to manually focus.
It probably focus hunts on a lot of cameras, because what is it? It's acting as a 225mm lens.
Yes.
You multiply it by 1.5, and yeah, that's long for a macro. I mean, I have a 105 macro, and that's hard enough to focus. And many times, if you haven't gotten into macro before, you'll know that, for all you guys out there, that macro is a lot of time spent in manual, because just a little fine adjustment will make a huge difference. Yes. in the focus. What was your shutter speed, if you remember, or aperture?
My shutter speed was 1/100th of a second. Aperture was f8, 8.0.
Wow, f8 at what ISO?
Auto ISO chose 360.
Auto ISO?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Get out of auto ISO. You're smarter than the camera.
I'm trying.
Yeah, you could have set that to 400. Now, here's something, though. You basically broke all the rules there. You're using a 150mm lens, or in essence a 220mm lens, and your shutter speed was at 1/100th of a second.
Yes.
So you're asking for the possibility of some motion blur or some shake coming in from the lens, because you're slower. Your shutter speed is slower than your focal length. In this go ahead.
Previously, before this shot, I'm pretty sure I was shooting something at a low shutter speed, so that's why I was just trying to spin the dials correctly and just get the shot, because right after I took the shot, the butterfly flew away, so I had this one shot.
Yeah, no, you got it, and that's great. Yeah. And just for future, try to pre-visualize what's going to go on and know that you could, you need a faster shutter speed, and what are the ways that you can get a faster shutter speed in this case. So what could you do to get a faster shutter speed, being that you were at 1/100th of a second at f8 at what ISO again?
360.
360. So we'll call it 400.
Okay.
What are the ways that you could bump your shutter speed?
Putting down the opening up the aperture.
Yep, that will give you another. If you went to f5.6, then you would have gone from 1/100th of a second to about 200th, 250th, and then you'll face less of a chance of motion blur there.
Yeah.
But it looks pretty sharp as can be anyway. So, the rules aren't meant to be followed all the time. They're just there as little reminders. And another thing, you could bump the ISO up, and that gives you, a faster shutter speed. And same thing, opening up that aperture will let more light in, which then means you can have a faster shutter speed. But no, everything is tack on. This is a really sweet photo.
Thank you.
And how'd you develop the RAW file?
I used Lightroom and Photoshop.
Okay.
In Lightroom, I just adjusted the exposure just a tad, then the black level up a little bit, then contrast, I put it way up to I think about 80, I believe. And then, what else did I do? Oh, I dropped the clarity so on the girl's hand, it kind of blows out a little bit near the palm.
Yep.
Then I changed the levels. I dropped down the darks, and then I just adjusted the light accordingly to get this photo image. And then I put it into Photoshop and just put a unsharp mask on it.
Okay. Yeah, you could do a lot of the sharpening things in Lightroom as well.
Yeah, I'm
learning it.
Getting there. Yeah, I'm just getting there.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say actually just about 99.9999% of the time, I don't even take a photo into Photoshop anymore. It's my tweaks in Lightroom, and that is what it is. And that's for me. That's what works for me. That's the good thing about photography is whatever works for you to give you the best image that you're happy with is all that really matters. So yeah, like I always say, there's no definitives when it comes to photography. It's what works best for you, and there are little rules to follow, but rules are definitely meant to be broken. Any questions that you have?
No.
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 What do you like shooting mostly?
Right now, gigs, because I'm in London right now and I'm unemployed, so I just go out, shoot some local live bands.
Were you surprised that I picked a butterfly shot and the rest of yours are a lot of music stuff?
No, not really, because I do like this shot.
Yeah. Uh-oh. We may have lost John. All right, yeah. I think we lost Jonathan here, and hey, that hasn't happened yet on the Skype line. But being that it has happened, well, I like this shot. Really cool butterfly shot. We got a cool rundown of how he shot it and everything that went on and how he corrected it. I love the composition that he moved himself to get the composition right. And other than that, I'll say goodbye for Jonathan. Jonathan, thank you for putting your photo in there. You're welcome. So there he is saying you're welcome. So guys, remember, get your photos into the Flickr photo group, and maybe I'll be calling you next week. Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.